Damon, thanks for joining us today for an update on all things Golden Mile resources. Firstly, let's start with your primary focus, which is the Pearl Copper Project in Arizona. You're able to provide those who might be new to the G88 story with an introduction to the asset and what excites you most about operating in this part of the world.
Okay, thanks, Alex. The asset's located right next door to the historical San Manuel Kalamazoo mine, which was mined for 44 years in the second half of last century. That also mined 1.3 billion tonnes of ore, and we're literally on its doorstep. Not only that, within the asset itself, we have two historical mines, which is what forms our initial targets that we're looking at. And then when we look at the macro setting of Arizona itself, Arizona is an extremely mine-friendly state within the United States. It's great for investment. It has world-class infrastructure. We're positioned within 10 km of the major highway, where we've got smelters just up the road. You know, the power infrastructure, everything that's in Arizona is absolutely fantastic.
Thanks, Damon. So you have built an impressive CV in the international mining sector. Are you able to provide us with an insight into your background and what in particular makes the Pearl project so compelling from your point of view?
So I'm a mining engineer by trade, and look, I've worked all around the world, as you alluded to. Where I've really focused in all this is around doing a lot of improvements, turnarounds over my career, and really looking at how to leverage an asset to bring more value out of it. Now, what excites me about Pearl in itself is within the Pearl Copper Project, we have two primary targets, which is Odyssey and Ford. That's where we've got these two historical mines. Now, when we look at those two historical mines, they were mined in the first half of last century, when we still very much operated with conventional mining. Now, the grades you had to mine back then to have a viable mine are certainly much higher than the grades we typically see in mines today. So they become really exciting in itself with some initial target zones. And when you actually look at the overall package beyond, obviously, the two mines, historical mines we know are there, there's a lot of geological noise within the area. And as we've already determined that we've already got the Aurora target now, what that really is giving us is multiple rounds in the chamber, so to speak, for success. Now, you know, exploration's a risk-based and probability-based game, and the more chances we have of discovering something, obviously, the more value we can drive in the early days.
Thanks, Damon. Now, turning our focus to your recent exploration efforts, I know some seriously good numbers have been generated over the last few months. Can you just talk us through the recent rock chip sampling campaigns at Pearl, in particular the stunning grades you've recorded at the Odyssey and Aurora prospects?
So I'll firstly start with the Odyssey prospect. We've had grades up to 15.2% copper in rock chips. We've had up to 24.8% zinc. We've had up to 930 grams per tonne of silver. They've had up to 12.6% of lead in rock chips. Now, this is over the target zone we're looking at Odyssey, which includes the historical Pearl mine, is over an 800 metres of strike, which is great when you slowly look to see how that can translate into a mining setting. And also we know it's steeply dipping between 60 and 80 degrees, and we know there's potentially three main sets within the mineralised zone there as well. And that's just at the Odyssey prospect. Aurora sits about 500 metres to the east of Odyssey, and as a part of some of the works we were doing over there, there were these old workings there, and we took half a dozen rock chip samples there more recently. And within that, we still got 10.8 grams per tonne of gold in one sample, and I think it was 8.9 grams per tonne in the other. So that's become a new prospect for us. We're seeing great gold results in that initial work, and certainly goes onto the radar for more geochem work and more geological mapping work as we progress. And we'll have a longer term view to put a drill program there as well.
Thanks, Damon. Now, I also note your upcoming maiden drill program at Pearl has been expanded beyond the Odyssey prospect to include the Ford prospect. Are you able to provide us with an update on how the permitting process is tracking, and when can we expect to see the rig spinning at Pearl?
So we've been dealing with both the ASLD and BLM. The ASLD is the Arizona State Land Department, and the BLM is the Bureau of Land Management in the United States. We've effectively closed out everything we need to do with the BLM. We've got our submissions in with the ASLD as well, and we are just awaiting those permits to be received. So the permits are imminent. But what we've been doing in the meantime is making sure that we've got everything else lined up as well. We've just awarded the drilling contract for the RC program. We've got the earthworks lined up, ready to go. So as soon as those permits drop, that we can then execute on the construction of the pads, mobilise a drilling contractor, and bring in the geological crew to manage the program.
Thanks, Damon. Now, before we wrap up, for those that might have added G88 to their watch lists, can you just outline some of the key catalysts that they should be keeping an eye out for over the coming months?
Certainly. I'll start with the drilling program because obviously everyone loves drilling to be in motion. So as soon as we can get drilling, we'll be obviously managing that program. And I think it's key to important when we're drilling two totally separate independent targets within the Pearl Copper project. So that gives us the potential for a lot of success in that program alone. And certainly we're very bullish on what we think we'll get there. But second to that as well, with having more breadth of experience within Golden Mile than the typical exploration company, and particularly having the combination of mining engineering and geological expertise, we've been running a program for over the last year about looking at other assets as well to bring into Golden Mile. So we're still very active in looking for more things. And what we want to do is, and what we're building up to, is we're looking for a portfolio of having 4 good quality assets within the portfolio, which can range anywhere from greenfields exploration through to advanced stage projects. So we want to be able to keep building our works and building our portfolio up, as well as driving our exploration hard.
Damon, appreciate the update and all the best for what is an exciting time for the company with the drill rig set to spin shortly. Thanks for joining me and all the best.
Absolute pleasure, Alex.